transition in Africa and the relevance of the water, energy, food nexus in this process. And then I will continue with the presentation of how the project is contributing to this process with the development of a nexus model and the toolkit for the simulation of different policy scenarios. And finally, the topic of the webinar is the creation of the Nexus database and the data challenges that we have found and the different approaches for data collection and processing that we are following. This part will be then continued by the rest of speakers from One Planet that will provide you more examples of how are providing this data collection and processing and examples of the project. For CARTIF, we are a technology center located in Spain, in a city at the northern central region of the country. We are a private non-profit foundation. And here you can see some relevant data from our company. We are more than 200 researchers, about 3 clients in 2023, and our revenues in that year were about 14 million euros. Currently, we are running 160 projects coming from direct contracts with companies or public funds, and most of them in this case are international projects as the case of One Planet. For the project aims, the general target is empowering different African stakeholders with tools and know-how to increase clean energy generation and sustainable use of resources, also considering the reduction of socioeconomic gaps. The project has been funded by the European Horizon Europe program and has a duration of 3 years. So as you can see here, we are about to finish in the last part of the project. The consortium consists of 12 different partners coming from different European and African countries. And in Africa, we have, as you see here, ICRI, Strathmore University, AfriLabs, the organizer of the webinar, and finally, the University of KwaZulu-Natal in South Africa. Here you can see the context of the just energy transition in Africa. As you see, it involves, on one hand, the decarbonization and also ensuring universal access to electricity. And this process has 2 main drivers in the midterm. On one hand, it will be necessary to double the energy supply because of the fast growing population and also the climate change impact. And also it is remarkable the potential, the renewable potential in the continent, which is 1,000 times larger than the projected demand. So the definition of low carbon pathways is not simply about replacing polluting sources and covering this growing energy demand with renewables, but also preventing potential conflicts in the use of resources. For example, new hydropower infrastructure and how can this impact on water use or photovoltaic on land use. And also it is necessary to seek for synergies with other non-energy infrastructure. So we need to consider these 3 main resources, water, energy, and food, which are very deeply interconnected and often, as I have just mentioned, face competing demands. So understanding this nexus and the connections between the different components is crucial to address global sustainability challenges, particularly in regions that are vulnerable to climate change, as the case of Africa. The benefits that are coming from this nexus approach is that we will move from a silos thinking approach to a more integrated resource management and also for the definition of jointed sectoral strategies. How are we operationalizing this nexus in the project? We are building a water, energy, food nexus model. We are considering, as you see here, the water, energy, and food sectors, but also land use, climate, economy, and society. We are building this model in system dynamics in open source. The models are defined at the river basin scale, and then the models will set the basis for the One Planet toolkit that will be configured by two different tools. The OneSim, like a more professional tool, and then a serious game. By means of these two tools, it will be possible to simulate different policy scenarios and evaluate the impact of these decisions on the Nexus system. We have 3 river basins in Africa, which are the case studies of the project. First, the Bani River as part of Niger in Mali. Then in Komati-Usutu water management area in South Africa. And finally, the Songwe River, that is an endorheic basin transboundary between Malawi and Tanzania, which drains into the Malawi Lake. As I was mentioning, we are in the final part of the project. So at this moment, the development of the Water Energy Food Nexus model and the One Planet toolkit are in full development. For example, next week, we are having a session in Nairobi involving local stakeholders where we are testing the toolkit and co-designing these tools with local stakeholders in Nairobi. And for the project also, the capacity building component is very relevant. So these days we are launching the One Planet Knowledge Hub. Here you can see how it looks like. I invite you all to navigate and dive into the different resources. As you can see, we have 4 different materials. Of course, it will include the direct link to the One Planet toolkit with the 2 tools, OneSim and OnePlay, but also a directory of experts, a database of different Nexus solutions, and the One Planet Academy. This academy will include different training material we are preparing. For example, how we are building the Nexus models in system dynamics, how are we building the toolkit. This webinar and others will also be there in this academy. So I invite you all to enter and check the content. And finally, the Nexus database. The model, the Water Energy Food Nexus model we are building is based on this structure Nexus database that includes data at different scales from administrative areas that are relevant for the energy, economy, and society sectors, agroecological zones for land, food, and climate, and the river basin, of course, relevant for the water sector, including also the policies coming from the national level, African continent, or other different scales. So far, our Nexus database includes about 40 different variables coming from about 20 different data sources. For example, hydrosets, Flow 1K, International Energy Agency reports. So we have been reviewing very different type of data sources with different nature in terms of scale, if they are GIS located or not. So very different data sources. And during this process of building the Nexus database, we have found, I would say, general challenges. For example, data gaps, inconsistencies, or lack of standardized frameworks. In general, not compliance with FAIR principles. And also other challenges that were specific for the One Planet, and because of these models working at the river basin level. So we are having to download national and regional data level to this river basin level. To overcome all these challenges, One Planet is working to enhance data accessibility, interoperability, and usability, also improving the information flows across scales and levels. And as mentioned, we are following different approaches. depending on the type of data, if it is geolocated or it comes from the national or regional level. So first, when we have geolocated data, we have to compute it at the river basin scale. For example, here we are having challenges of this data for building, time series, data collection from this type of data sets, for example, Flow 1K or ERA 5 land, and also downscaling based on gridded data sets, for example, the temperature from Copernicus C3S. My colleague Ivan Ramos from Cardiff will, after me, present some examples of these challenges we are facing in the One Planet project. And then for the second type of data, when it comes from the national level, we need to downscale this data to the basin level, and we are following different drivers depending on the variable we are downscaling. For example, the area, the population, or the GDP. In these cases, we need to develop algorithms for this data downscaling. We have also designed methods to validate these results. Also, the consistency of units and the policy downscaling. In these cases, after Ivan, then my colleague Adrian also will provide you some examples of these challenges we are facing. And finally, Pedro Solano from the University of Valladolid will introduce you in these challenges regarding economic issues and also the policy downscaling. And that's all from my side. I think the questions are after the part of Cardiff. Thank you.
Thank you, Raquel, for that really deep presentation on One Planet's approach to data collection. So up next, we do have Ivan Ramos. So Ivan Ramos holds a master's degree in forest engineering and a PhD in conservation and sustainable use of forest systems from University of Valladolid, based in Spain. His research focused on remote sensing applications for environmental monitoring in forests and hydrology planning. And currently, he's a researcher in the energy division at Cardiff Technology Center, working on GIS modeling projects, as you're going to see in his presentation. And previously, he has worked as a consulting engineer, optimizing environmental and power line projects using remote sensing and GIS. And he has authored several scientific publications and presented them at the national and international conferences on data modeling and remote sensing applications. So as you can see, he has a lot of experience, and I really look forward to his session in a bit. Ivan, thank you, and you're welcome. The floor is yours.
Okay. Thank you very much for your introduction, and thank you for inviting me to participate today in this webinar. Well, as my colleague Raquel explained before, we are facing some problems with the data in order to generate a common database to simulate the water energy food nexus in the subbasins. And the idea of my presentation is to explain a bit more how you can obtain data in order to populate a database that could be used to replicate the solution to other areas. But the focus is based on the geolocated data and how you can integrate this data into different boundary levels at basin or sub-basin. And we will follow these three challenges into the presentation. The first one is related on how you can build time series based on the geolocated data. What are the main challenges? The second one is related with data collection based on gridded data sets as raster files. We will use two examples, one related with Flow1K data and the other one related with ERA5. And the last one is related with the downscaling of gridded data sets. We will follow the example of climate projections based on temperatures coming from Copernicus Climate Change Initiative. Well, as you know, the problem is to understand how we can create a database of functional data to simulate the water energy food nexus. And during the process of implementation of this database, we identified that some challenges could appear with the geolocated data. First of all, related with the analysis of changes over time and space. You could have data along different time series, but sometimes not. It's a problem. Geolocated data sometimes require a lot of processing resources and also storage or space to exchange. It's also a problem because you need to download a lot of information and sometimes generates problems for for the processing. Time series are frequently inconsistent. It could be daily, monthly, yearly, or it could have incomplete records. You could have data it's 5 years. It generates a problem because at the end we need to have a time series that are consistent between periods. Also, we identify other problems as spatial resolution that could be not appropriate for the case study area. If you have, for example, 200 kilometers of spatial resolution, it could be 1 pixel for an area, and you don't have variability. And also lack of data validation. You could identify some databases that are not validated, and it could have errors. This generates a problem because the data are inconsistent and it's impossible to obtain good results. But well, first of all, when you are trying to integrate geolocated data in your process, you need to understand what are the clear objectives of or your needs and search for validate data. You need to check before doing nothing the metadata and also the copyright and the term of use of the different data in order to evaluate if it is feasible or not to generate new products based on this data. Well, to continue, we will present one process of data collection. This process is based on Flow1K data. Flow1K is a database that you could download in this FileShare repository. It includes minimum, maximum, and mean annual flow of different rivers with a coverage that is global and with an spatial resolution of 1 kilometer. It involves the period between 1960 to 2015. And well, as you can see here is global coverage, and more or less the size of its dataset could be around 15 gigabytes. It is very high. You need to consider that this Flow1K dataset is an HCDF, that is a multidimensional file involving different rasters in different dimensions, as you can see in this image. Each year is included as a new raster, and it generates a multidimensional raster file. This multidimensional raster file generates the problem that you need to cover all the layers in the same process of data collection. In order to understand how we can extract this information, we develop a process in which some points were located as a GeoJSON file. As you can see in this black image, you can identify the points that we use for data collection. These points are useful to intercept the flows and obtain the results for the different time series in its location. As you can see here, we collected the results per location, and it will help us to generate this mean flow data for its subbasin. In this case, it's an input. It's the flow that is used as input in a subbasin, and is extracted for the different points. You could do different analysis with the input flow, the output flow, the tributaries that are the flows that are coming from the main river in the area. And well, you can integrate the results at basin or subbasin level depending on your requirements. This is an example integrating the data at subbasin level. It's for subbasin, and well, this is the real flow in cubic meters per second, and covering the time series that I previously explained for all the range of the data. Well, the second example is based on data collection from gridded datasets, but based on a boundary. This is also an example coming from Copernicus Climate Change Initiative with ERA 5 data. They have an spatial resolution of 10 kilometers, and it covers the period 1950 to the present, with monthly resolution and involving the variables that you have in this table. You can call it total precipitation, different types of runoffs, different type of evapotranspiration, covering, for example, evapotranspiration or evaporation from vegetation, the potential evaporation, or others. Well, as previously explained, they are net CDF files, and they have a multidimensional structure. But translating this into an example is this mesh of data with different colors, and you have the boundary that is your subbasin. In our case, we will use a process developed in Python as an algorithm in order to collect the different statistics of the data that are inside the boundary. With this process, you can identify the count, the mean, the maximum, the minimum, all the statistics of the data that you have inside the boundary. And the functionality is that at the end, you will be able to obtain this time series of data that are useful for the population of your database, and after that to be used as the background for the model simulation. This will be the parameters that will be stored in the model. Well, as you can see, our time series with the evolution of the datasets along the time. And finally, this is the third example, and it's related with Copernicus, with other Copernicus datasets. And I will try to explain you how you can develop future climate projections at 10 meters of spatial resolution. In this case, we will use SEMIP6 projections coming from different climate scenarios, and as a base to calibrate the data, the ERA 5. As you can see, we will have data coming from 100 to 250 kilometers of spatial resolution to 10 kilometers. And our objective is to have 10 kilometers local climate scenarios. In this case, the process is a bit complex because you need to jump between this coarser spatial resolution to a finer one. And well, you need to understand what is behind the data in order to launch the process. This is developed using a statistical downscaling process that is integrated into a quantile mapping. This quantile mapping is a bias correction method that tries to adjust the distribution of the data using the observed data as the reference and correcting the variation between this observed data with the model. In this case, this is also integrated into a Python process in order to compare the time series with this time series, generate the new dataset at 10 kilometers of spatial resolution. After that, and following the previous approach, we will integrate all these results into a boundary in order to obtain time series that are useful for our purpose, that is generating this database and populate the model. And well, after this process, you will obtain this time series that is one per basin or sub-basin, integrating the historical precipitation in millimeters, that is the total. In this case is one sub-basin in the Incomati Lusum 2 case study. And well, you have the evolution of precipitation according to different climate scenarios in the future. One is the SSP 585, and the other one is the SSP 24.245. And you can compare how, in this case, precipitation will change in the future. As you can see, the variability between the historical and the future scenarios change a lot. But well, the possibility of this method is quite irrelevant because at the end you could obtain gridded data sets at 10 kilometers, and it will be possible to understand what will be the future trends of climate variables. In this case, this quantile mapping method is only applicable to daily temperature and precipitations, but well, is running well with the bias correction of these two variables. And finally, to conclude, as a summary, I put here some conclusions as geolocated data are a really good alternative when you don't have statistical data or in order to populate a database without data. You need to evaluate the feasibility before processing in order to compare the spatial resolution versus the size of your boundaries. It's quite relevant because at the end, if you need to account for data, you need to evaluate if it is only one data in your boundary, or you could have different data in order to evaluate the variability. First of all, you need to review the metadata in order to understand the data that it provides, for example, the time series, and it will help you to understand how you can process the data. And also you need to prepare your infrastructure. You need to have resources to process. You need to have storage capacity. It's fundamental before starting to work with geolocated data. As I said before, you could work with data sets of 15 gigabytes or similar, and it's hard to work with this data if you don't have the right infrastructure. Finally, you need to think on the strategy before running a process in order to achieve good results. You need to think on the process if you consider that it's better to allocate points and extract data in a specific point, or if you need to have a mean value for a boundary. As I said, define the strategy before processing because this requires time, and it's better to define the good pathway before collecting data in order to avoid going to one process to the other and jumping to different solutions. And well, this is all from my side. Thank you very much. And after the presentations, you would have time to have questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ramos, for that insightful presentation on the challenges of geolocated data for building time series and the data collection from gridded data sets. I think we have all benefited from the insights on the approach that One Planet is taking towards data collection. So next in line, we have the next presenter still from CATIF, Adriana Mateo. So a little bit about Adrian. Adrian holds a chemical engineering degree and a master's in engineering in environmental engineering from the University of Valladolid, still based in Spain. In 2022, he worked at the Institute of Sustainable Processes, ISP, focusing on waste valorization projects within the chemical engineering and environmental technology department. And he's currently a researcher in the energy department at CATIF, contributing to European projects like One Planet on modeling and data collection. Among those also include Emerge and Nevermore. Adriana, thank you for joining the webinar and welcome to the floor. Over to you, Adrian.
Yeah, hi everybody, how are you? Well, first, thank you so much everybody for attending, and also thank you to all the speakers for participating, and to Labs for taking the lead in organizing the webinar. And yeah, as you have mentioned, Timothy, I'm gonna talk a little bit about the downscaling approaches we have followed to go from national data to river basin scale, which is the level the models of One Planet need to work. And I'm gonna make a special emphasis on the case of GDP. And well, from now on, I'm gonna say national data, but all these approaches can be used not only for national, but also for global, continental, or regional data. So during this whole project, as Raquel has mentioned before, we have faced some challenges related to data, and I'm gonna list them now. The first one has been the process of searching for reliable databases at the national level, which must be trustworthy, uh, open source. Then we have needed to develop algorithms for downscaling the national data to create river basin level data to fit the models. And finally, the design of validation methods to assess that our results that we have obtained after the downscaling processes are accurate and are good enough to be used in our models. So starting from the first one, as you may know, not all databases are as accurate as others. So we have established or created a set of requirements that all databases need to commit. So we make sure that they are good enough to be employed in One Planet. And within this set of requirements, we have first of all the reliability. And with this requirement, we mean that databases must be provided by an official institution, organization, or government. Then they must be open source because One Planet is a European Union funded project. And one of the commitments we have with the Commission is that both the models and the databases have to be open source. Then the comparability, and this could be the toughest one because ideally we should have at least two different data sources or databases for each variable to compare the different values. And we know that we are not going to have the same numerical values using different databases, but we can compare at least the order of magnitudes to see if the values are within the same range. Then the traceability, because it's really important to know which the original sources are, how the databases are calculating the different values, which are the equations that are behind the numbers. And finally, the temporal coverage, because the models don't work with discrete values. They need time series or time period data. So we need to assess that we have, for example, in the One Planet case, data from 2010 to 2020. And for all the reasons we have, we needed to use a wide set of data sets. And here you can see some examples of the national databases we have used. For example, the International Energy Agency for Energy, the Aquastat for Water, the United Nations or International Monetary Fund regarding socioeconomy, or the FAO for Food and Land. Then going to the second challenge, it's the development of downscaling algorithms, because initially the data is at national level, but our models need to work at case study level. And well, as Raquel said, one of our case studies is the Inkomati Usutu River Basin, which is located in South Africa, in particular in the province of Mpumalanga. So we need to go from country level information to river basin scale. And how can we do that? Using what we call the downscaling drivers. And downscaling driver is a variable that we can obtain from a geolocated database. So we know the exact value for the case study, and that we can use to downscale other variables that are only available at national or a higher scale level. Here in this table, you can observe the three main drivers that we have used in this project. The first one, population, then the area, and finally the GDP. In the second column, we have included some databases, some geolocated databases, from where these drivers can be obtained. And in this final column, there are some examples of variables that we have been able to downscale using their corresponding population. For example, using the population, you can obtain an estimate of the domestic consumptions. With the extension on area, you can calculate the livestock heads. And finally, with the GDP, you can then downscale not only economic variables, but also some energy ones, for example, the final energy consumption by sector. And now I'm gonna explain in more detail the case of the GDP, since this could be the most interesting one, since GDP is not usually available in a geolocated way. And when it's available, is exclusively in regions with a lot of information, for example, Europe or North America. But since One Planet needs to or attempts to represent African case studies, we needed to downscale national GDP. And how can we do that? Using the so-called lead pod method. We haven't created this method. It comes from a research study by Wang and Su in 2022. And it's really useful because using two geolocated variables, which are pretty easy to find, such as population and luminance. And with luminance, we refer to the light that you can see during the night. And using a non-GIS input, such as national GDP, you can create a grid or a grid composed of a set of different clusters or cells, each of them having an associated GDP. So this way, we would have, for example, thousands of small clusters of cells with discrete GDPs that we can then aggregate to the level of aggregation that our models require. For example, in our case, we can go from having a lot of small clusters that compose the whole country of South Africa to aggregate only the ones that we are interested in to obtain the informative derivation GDP. And with this value, for example, we can then downscale other economic parameters or energy ones, etc. The main equations behind this method are, first of all, the calculation of the lead pop per grid using the population and the luminance. And as you can see here, with this method, you take into account both parameters. So when one of them is null, you only consider the variable with an associated value. But if you have values for both parameters, you can calculate the lead pop by multiplying them. So this way you avoid miscounts or, for example, not taking into account cells that apparently don't have population but that have luminance. Once we have calculated the lead pop, we can go to the calculation of the GDP per grid using a higher scale GDP, which can be, for example, at national or at provincial level. In our case, we have been able to obtain unofficial data for the province for Mpumalanga. So using this value as the GDP, we can obtain the GDP of each grid by multiplying the lead pop and the GDP at provincial level and dividing it by this sum of all lead pop grids that belong to the to the province of Mpumalanga. Finally, having this graded GDP, you can aggregate them all to obtain the GDP that belongs to the case study, in this case to the Nkomati-Sutu River Basin. And what can we do with this value? On the one hand, we can downscale other economic variables by assuming that there's a constant ratio between the GDPs and the economic variables across the different scales, in this case, for example, across the case study and the national levels. But we can also downscale the GDP by sector using provincial or national data, which is useful to then downscale, for example, energy variables such as the total final energy consumption, which is also very it's totally necessary to fit the energy modules of the models that we are creating. Finally, we need to assess that our results make sense or are within a range that can be used and are not going to produce result that are out of the scope. And our main problem here is that it's been really hard to find official data to compare our results to them. So we have needed to merge quantitative and qualitative validation processes. On the one hand, regarding the quantitatives, we have downscaled the GDP following or using the other two drivers, the population and the area. And we've also tried to compare our values with other regions or river basins similar to the Nkomati to see if they are within the same or within the same range. And regarding the qualitative methods, we have using the feedback from local partners and stakeholders. We have also conducted a literature review, and we have tried to perform a socioeconomic analysis trying to discover where the main industries, mines are, to see if, for example, our part of the province is richer than the part that is outside or the other way. And here we have some of the main results that we've obtained. In the first row in red, we can see, for example, the downscale GDP for the region, and below we have other values obtained through the other different validation methods. And as you can see, our value is a little bit lower, but it can make sense because we've discovered that the main industries and mines are in the part of the province that's outside of the case study. So although most of the population and the area belongs to the Incomati River Basin, the GDP varies a little bit. Then in the other columns, we have the final energy consumption for industries, households, and agriculture. And as you can see, the errors are quite acceptable, below or lower than 7%. So we can conclude that this method works quite effectively. And just to sum up, some final remarks, and the first one would be that this method works well for downscaling the GDP in regions such as the one we have been working on. Then that using lower scaled base GDP provides better and more accurate downscaling results. And with lower scaled base GDP, we mean that if you have at your disposal, for example, a provincial GDP, your results will be better than if you only have national data, which obviously will work better than if you only have a global or continental GDP. And finally, we have also assessed that GDP is an effective driver to downscale not only economic parameters such as um, uh, compensation of employees or capital stocks, but also to downscale variables like energy demands, consumptions, etc. And in this final slide, we have included a couple of geolocated databases you can use if you are interested in extracting or obtaining, for example, population, area, and other geolocalized variables. And at the bottom, you can see the reference paper for this downscaling process, which is really interesting and useful in case you want to have further details of all these procedures. So I encourage you to have a look at it if you want to know something else. And this is all from my side. And I think now we have like a break for questions. So please don't hesitate to write them on the chat or directly ask, not only about my presentation, but also regarding Raquel's and Ivan's.
Yeah, so thank you, Adriana, for that for your presentation that focused on downscaling national data and the challenges associated with that, such as developing algorithms for downscaling and developing methods to validate the results. It's really been insightful, a masterclass of sorts. So in case anybody has questions, please raise your hand and unmute. Or you can type them in the chat so that we're able to see them. Hi, Lavender. I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name right. I see your hand is raised.
Yes, you've pronounced it right. My name is Lavender. I am a founder of a startup that we are on a mission to build climate resilience for farmers here in Kenya. Lovely session. We've been on a run trying to make GIS data make sense. So mine is a lovely presentation, by the way. I've learned a lot that we'll try implementing on our end. I would just love to understand what the challenges have been dealing with GIS data, especially in a case where you need high resolution images, and how that can be downscaled for a use case such as that of our startup. And two, a bit of light to be shed on some of the local partners that you found useful, especially in validating the data that you have.
Well, thanks for the question. Regarding your second doubt, the partners we've found useful. We have worked with the University of KwaZulu-Natal, in particular with our colleague Tsitsi, who has a lot of contacts in the area of the case study, and we have collected information from especially, for example, the Nkomati-Sutu water management area, which is the organization that tries to collect all data regarding water in that zone, but also with some companies that provide energy to the area, such as Eskom, I think that's the name, and also some stakeholders that work in agricultural jobs, who provided us with many information or much information on which type of crops are the most important for them. So we've tried to have feedback for all different stakeholders to have the full picture of the river basin, and combining all that information and some reports we have collected, we have more or less been able to assess that our downscaling results are more or less in line or aligned with reality. And well, regarding your question about GIS data, my colleague Ivan can answer you.
Well, related with the geolocated data, as I said during my presentation, if you would like to work with high spatial resolution data sets, sometimes it's quite difficult to have it ready for specific areas. But you need to follow some downscaling process in order to, for example, generate your high resolution spatial data sets. In general, the Copernicus ecosystem could provide you some relevant data in order to start working with specific areas. I remember, for example, that you can download land use maps at 300 meters of spatial resolution that are developed each year. And well, this is coming from the Copernicus Climate Change Initiative also. And well, you could have another ones, but they are based on your requirements and the needs that you have with this data. But I put this an example, but well, it depends on your needs. Okay.
Thank you.
Somebody had a question in the chat asking what are the countries eligible for this call? Does anybody want to answer that? I think, yeah.
I can take this question, Timothy. This is not a call. This is an ongoing project. As I mentioned, it is in the final stages. and the river basins were defined from the very beginning of the project. So these are the 3 river basins in Komati, Bani, and Songwe. This processing we are doing is also to enhance the replication to other countries or river basin in Africa. So the models we are preparing will be specific developed for these countries and river basins, but it will be, let's say, easy to replicate to other boundaries in terms of river basins or countries in Africa. But for the One Planet in this first phase, it will be only cover these 3 river basins.
If I could come in as well. In terms of stakeholder engagement, so One Planet project covers stakeholders from both the African Union as well as from the EU continent. So we look towards engaging all stakeholders from both regions with regards to the One Planet project. The WEF Nexus sectors as well, or interested in the topics. Anybody else has a question before we move into our next presentation? Right. All right. Hossein, we do appreciate being engaged during the sessions. So our next presenter is Pedro, who will be presenting on the challenges in collecting and processing economic data in sub-Saharan. And Pedro holds a bachelor's degree.
Sorry, Timothy, I can't hear you really well, actually.
Please confirm if you can hear me.
Now I can hear you, yes.
Yeah.
All right. I just had a network glitch. So as I was saying, Pedro later obtained his master's degree in international cooperation for development and is currently pursuing his doctorate in applied economics at UVA. As a research assistant on the One Planet project, he's responsible for developing the socioeconomic models, contributing to a deep understanding of sustainability and economic dynamics on the continent. Thank you so much, Pedro, for joining us. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Timothy. Thank you, everyone. I'm just sharing my screen. Can you please confirm that you can see it? Can you see my screen? Okay, yeah. Thank you.
Yes.
Let me just start the presentation. So hello, everyone. My name is Pedro Solano. As Timothy was saying, I'm a PhD candidate at the University of Valladolid. I'm now working with the research group in energy economy and system dynamics. Here at UVA and the researching group, our team is specialized in system dynamics modeling, particularly in energy and economic systems. And over the years, we have contributed to several European projects that explore the interconnections between energy, the environment, and economy. These projects are Medeas, Locomotion, Rethink Action, and so on. So on these projects, we have focused on topics like energy transition pathways, sustainable development, and climate adaptation strategies. And we are always using advanced modeling techniques such as system dynamics to develop these models. And today, I'll present you some of the key challenges we have faced in modeling the economy within the WEF Nexus as part of the One Planet project that Raquel has explained really well before. So first of all, economic modeling within the WEF Nexus faces three major challenges related to economic data, which form the structure of our analysis here today. The first challenge is the data availability. So to better model the interactions between the economy and water, energy, and food sectors, we need detailed and reliable economic data. However, in many cases, economic data is missing, fragmented, or inconsistent, making it difficult to use for precise modeling and precise connection between sectors. The second challenge is bridging the gap between national and regional data. As Adrian was explaining before, most available economic statistics are aggregated at a national level, but WEF Nexus Dynamics and the One Planet project operates at a local or regional scales. And the lack of data granularity makes it difficult to capture the economic reality for specific areas we are studying now. And the third challenge, as Adrian was mentioning before, are the validation of this data and the policy application. So even when we estimate regional economic data, a critical question arises. Is how reliable are these estimates? So without historical time series and regional benchmarks, validating and calibrating our models become a complex task. And additionally, most economic policies are designed at a national level, making it difficult to adapt them to regional realities within countries and case studies, okay? So in most WEF Nexus models, the economy is represented as a very simplified way. The most common approach is to assume that economies are exogenous variable, meaning that GDP grows at a predetermined rate independent of changes in resource availability or sectoral constraints. And this means that economy is often treated as a background element for these models rather than as a system that interacts dynamically with water, energy, and food resources. Okay. However, in reality, economy is highly dependent on resource availability and is constantly adjusting to changing conditions. For example, droughts reduce agricultural yields, leading to lower employment and household incomes. Energy shortages disrupt industrial production, limiting GDP growth and affecting trade balances. Water scarcity can raise food prices, forcing households to adjust their spending patterns and affecting food security. So these interactions means that resource constraints have real economic impacts. Yet, most WEF Nexus models do not capture these feedbacks between resources and economy. So to improve the accuracy of our models and ensure they can simulate realistic economic responses to resource limitations, we need detailed, high-quality economic data, not just at the national level, but also at the regional or basin scale. This is where the biggest challenge arises. The lack of detailed regional economic data severely limits our ability to model these interconnections properly. So far, we have established that the economic dynamics are crucial in the WEF Nexus. However, to accurately model these interactions, we need reliable and granular economic data. This brings us to the first major challenge, that is data availability. Our case studies focus on specific regions, including rural and transboundary areas where economic activities differ significantly from national averages. However, most economic data is aggregated at national level, making it difficult to capture these subnational economic patterns. For example, national GDP figures do not tell us how economic activity is distributed within a country. Large economic centers often dominate national statistics, while rural economies and rural areas remain underrepresented. Also, rural areas face major data gaps. Most economic surveys focus on urban centers, where data collection is easier, leaving us with little information about local economies and remote areas. Other issue is transboundary regions. So transboundary regions presents additional challenge for us. Economics statistics are typically collected at country level, making it difficult to assess economic flows across borders, even though these regions often share strong economic and resource interdependencies. So this issue is not limited to GDP only. Key economic variables, as Adrian mentioned before, such as household consumption, energy consumption, investment, compensation of employees, gross operational surplus, and household income, are usually reported only as national level data. So this lack of regional economic breakdowns makes it difficult to assess how different areas within a country respond to resource constraints, or how economic shocks propagate across different regions within a country. And the lack of detailed regional economic data severely limits our ability to model the economy at the scale we want in our case studies. So now that we have seen how most economic data is only available at the national level, we can move to practical issue we faced when working with economic data for our case studies. We have identified three major challenges when trying to obtain this reliable data for our model. So the first challenge is missing or inaccessible data. Many countries, especially in the global south and sub-Saharan Africa, do not have regional economic accounts, meaning that we lack essential information on investment, household consumption, trade flows at these subnational levels. In some cases, as Adrian mentioned before, like in Mpumalanga region in South Africa, we found GDP estimates, but other key economic variables, such as the ones I've mentioned before, are absent. Without this detail, it is difficult to assess how different regions function economically and how they respond to changes in resource availability within the WEF Nexus. So the second challenge is poor interoperability between sectors. Economic data is often collected independently from water, energy, and food data, and using different methodologies, timeframes, and classifications. This makes it difficult to link economic activity with resource use, which is crucial components of WEF Nexus modeling. For example, when analyzing energy demand by sector, we found that economic sector classifications in our databases did not always align with energy consumption data, making integration between these two submodules highly complex. The third challenge is lack of standardization. Different national statistic office using various classification systems, different currencies adjustment, and inconsistent time series. Even when regional data is available, the way it is reported varies significantly from country to country. In some cases, data is collected sporadically or reported in non-comparable formats, making it difficult to track economic trends over time or conduct cross-country comparisons. So to address these challenges, we relied on a mix of global and national data sources. As Adrian mentioned before as well, some of the most important ones include World Bank, IMF and the UN at a global level. So these provide macroeconomic indicators such as GDP, trade balances, and investment figures, but only at national level. Also, we have used data from the African Development Bank. They have offered us economic reports, but regional data remains incomplete in many cases. We also have used national statistic offices to gather this data. Some countries provide subnational economic reports, but these are often inconsistent or outdated or lacking some key variables. So the availability of regional data varies significantly across our case studies. For example, South Africa has relatively detailed regional GDP statistics, but it lacks of disaggregated information on investment, sectoral output, or income distribution. On the other hand, Tanzania, Mali, and Malawi have very limited regional economic data, requiring us to estimate missing values using alternative methods. For transboundary regions, for example, the challenge is even greater. So because there is no harmonized economic data between countries, making cross-border economy analysis really difficult for us. So given these limitations, we had to develop alternative methods for estimating regional and basin level economic activity, such as the GDP downscale method that Adrian mentioned before. So since the downscaling methodology has already been covered by Adrian, thank you. Let's now focus on the next steps, that is how we use and validate these downscaled economic estimates. So here you can see these two graphs are the GDP and the total population SSP2 projections already downscaled for the Nkomati Usuntu water management area. So here you can see the historical values and the projections from the SSPs. Okay, so once we generate this regional economic data through downscaling techniques, the next challenge is ensuring that these estimates are reliable and usable for modeling and policy analysis. The key issues is that there is no historical subnational economic data to compare our estimates against. So this makes direct validation almost impossible. So to address this, as Adrian mentioned before, again, we apply three alternative validation techniques. So the first one is comparing estimates with alternative indicators such as energy consumption, subnational GDP or national GDP trends. The second one is consulting local experts and stakeholders. And the third one is cross-checking with fragmented reports and case studies. So these validation methods helped us increase confidence in our estimates, but they do not completely eliminate uncertainty. So the lack of official subnational economic data remains a fundamental challenge for us. And without better access to regional economic accounts, we will continue relying on indirect estimation techniques. So in the next session, we will discuss a bit the implication of this data limitation for economic policy design and assessment, particularly at the regional level. So even after estimating regional economic activity, we encountered another critical issue. Economic policies are primarily designed at national level. So this creates significant challenges when trying to apply these policies to specific regions and case studies in our model. So why this is a problem? This is a problem because policies related to tax incentives, subsidies, and public investment are rarely designed with regional specificity, meaning that they do not account for distinct economic structure of different areas. Many rural regions lack dedicated economic policy frameworks, making it harder to model the economic evolution under different policy scenarios. Also, cross-border economic zones face additional challenges, as economic policies often do not align between neighbors countries, despite of the strong economic interdependencies in these areas. So this lack of subnational policy determination makes it difficult to create realistic regional policy scenarios in our model. Economic policies are typically based on national macroeconomic indicator, but in reality, economic dynamics vary widely across regions, sectors, and resource availability in these regions or sectors. So a region's economy does not operate in isolation, no? Local economies, structure, trade flows, and resource constraints plays a crucial role in shaping economic outcomes. However, without regionalized economic policy data, our ability to simulate localized economic response scenarios remains limited. So to finish, to improve economic modeling in the WEF Nexus, it is essential to address the challenges we have discussed, particularly the availability, consistency, and validation of regional economic data. However, this is not just a modeling issue. It is a broader challenge that many institutions and governments are already working to solve. One important step forward is enhancing accessibility to regional economic data. Many countries are already improving the statistical systems, but making more detailed subnational economic reports publicly available would be greatly for us and would greatly benefit both policymakers and researchers. Another key aspect is the harmonization of economic data across African countries, ensuring consistency in time series, classification systems, and methodologies. This is a really complex task, but efforts are already underway. So the African Union's strategy for the harmonization of statistics in Africa is an example of ongoing initiatives that aims to improve cross-country data comparability and strengthen statistical capacity at regional and national levels. Also, a more standardized statistical framework for subnational economic data could also help facilitate regional analysis, support cross-country comparisons, and enhance the assessment of policy impacts at local level. Moving forward, our focus will be on refining our models, improving validation techniques, and continuing to integrate economic modeling with water, energy, and food systems. At the same time, we recognize that improving economic data is a collective effort involving national statistical agencies, international organizations, and researchers working together to enhance data quality and accessibility. With better data, we can improve not just our models, but also our ability to support informed decision-making for sustainable development. So this is all from my part. Thank you for your attention, and I'm happy to take any questions afterwards.
Thank you, Adrian, on that very insightful presentation on. I think one of the key takeaways for me personally is the challenges associated with the lack of a breakdown of regional data sets. Also, where most data sets focus at the national level and they don't really cover the entire country's region. So thank you for that, Adrian. Sorry, Pedro. Up next, we do have a special guest from SACA, Adrian. Adrian is an electrical engineer with extensive experience in the energy sector, mostly specializing in renewable energy, grid operations, and data science. He holds a master's in smart energy, renewable energies, and digitalization, and has expertise in Python, SCADA, control and protection systems. Currently, he's a researcher at SAC. focusing on innovation and optimization in renewable energy projects. Previously, he has worked in the transmission and generation sectors across Latin America, leading technical evaluations and system studies with strong problem solving, teamwork, and strategic thinking skills. Is committed to advancing sustainable energy solutions. And I'd like to welcome Adrian. Thank you for joining us. We're happy to hear about your experience and also the work that you're doing at SAC. Over to you, Adrian. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much for the invitation and this presentation. Here is I share my screen. Can you see my presentation?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Pedro. My presentation, the theme, the title is creation of an electrical model in GridCal for Mozambique, challenging in collecting geospatial and public information. Within the project, the Emerge project of the Africa region. First, good morning, everyone. My name is Adrian Alarcón, and I work in CIRSE. Yeah, I will talk about our work in an electrical model in GridCal for Mozambique for the Emerge project. We will focus on the problem of collecting geospatial and public data. Before, let me introduce, CIRSE. CIRSE is a technology center that creates new solutions for a better future. Our teams help companies improve through research, innovation, and training. We work in areas like sustainability, energy efficiency, power networks, and renewable energy. The CIRSE is in Zaragoza, Spain, and we work in different projects. For example, the Emerge project with the partner of Africa. The Emerge project is to help leaders, research, and investors and citizens in Africa by improve the clean energy and use resource well. It also wants to reduce cultural and economic gaps between the regions. To do this, the project will create and test tools that meet different methods. These tools will help decision makers and local community use clean energy and a better way. CIRSE is responsible for developing two key tools for the Emerge project. The hosting capacity tools, which evaluate how much new generation the grid can integrate without major upgrades, and the optimal storage placement tool, which help determine the best location for energy storage system. These tools are essential for improving grid stability and efficiency. They allow us to analyze the system ability to handle renewable energy source and ensure a more reliable and resilient electrical networks. Hosting capacity tools is designed to analyze and plan power grid, helping us to determine how much new generations or load can be added without efficiency, stability, and performance in the electrical system. It plays a key role in optimizing network expansions by considering contingency analysis and system dynamic. This means we can predict how the grid will behave under different conditions. The optimal storage placement tools identify the best location to install energy storage system within the grid. By doing this, we can maximize the benefits of storage, improving efficiency and stability. To achieve this, the tools use advanced heuristic algorithms such as genetic algorithms or particular swarm optimization. This allows us to evaluate multiple grid configuration and available resource to find the most effective placement for a storage system. The key object of these tools are enhancing renewable energy integration with the storage system and optimize existing infrastructure to reduce the need for costly upgrades. Okay, for example, the overload in lines. Additional, the tools help us analyze energy flows and environmental impact, ensuring that storage solutions are both technical and environmental sound. Now, to develop these tools, hosting capacity and optimal storage, we need a detailed electrical model of the system. Okay? This model allows us to run power flow simulation, helping us understand how the grid manages energy generation and consumption. These simulations are essential for checking the impact of integration new energy or new storage system in the electrical system. As part of the EMERGE project, we have created an electrical model for Mozambique. This model serves as demonstration scenario help us identify the best location for the energy storage, analyze how the grid adapt to renewable energy, and ensure system stability and efficiency in the long run. GridCal is a powerful software and library of Python, the framework of GridCal used for analyze and simulate power system. It provides energy engineers with the tools need to model, evaluate, and optimize electrical networks. With GridCal, we can conduct various studies such as low flow, short circuit analyzing, and more. These are crucial for understanding how the grid will behave under different conditions and for planning. GridCal is versatile and powerful tools that support various essential tasks in electrical system analysis. For example, run a static power flow, simulate the behavior of electrical grid under different conditions, support a different file or format file, for example, Excel and CSV, etc. The link provided here allows access to the source code of GridCal and additional the documentation and other resources to help you get started with this tool, with GridCal. But for GridCal, we need the electrical model of Mozambique, and we need additional information about this electrical system. To create a correct electrical system model, several key types of data are essential. For example, we need data about the buses, for example, the location, the coordinate. Next, we need data for lines or transformer, for example, the length of line or the type of conductor. Another important data is the demand or the consumption, the load data. Also, we need information about the power, the active power and reactive power for the renewable generation. And finally, we need data of the synchronous generator. This data is crucial for which play a key role, the synchronous generator, in maintaining grid stability in the system. All this information comes together to create a completed and useful model of the electrical system. The primary source used to develop the electrical system model for Mozambique for the Emerge project was the final report of the Integrated Master Plan for the development of the Mozambique power system, published in November 2018. This document is public in the website of the governor of Mozambique. This comprehensive document provides critical insight into several key aspects of Mozambique electrical system. For example, it outlines the potential for renewable energy generation, including wind, solar, and hydroelectric power, which are crucial for countries' future energy mix. Here in this image showing the energy transmission system in the left, and in the right, the image of right with the potential energy source, specifically hydropower. This image is taken from the final report, the report of the electrical system of Mozambique. Here, another good image showing the potential solar and wind energy. Solar is the left and wind in the right. This information also extracted from the final report identify areas with high potential for solar and wind energy generation. In this slide, we have table detail the definition of the transmission line and substation that make up Mozambique's electrical system. This table, again, sourced from the final report, provide essential data such as the location, types, and capacity of the transmission line and substation in the country in Mozambique. In addition to data from Integrated Master Plan and the other source we will discuss it, we can also use platform like the World Bank database and Open Infra Map for more useful information. This resource provide detailed data on Mozambique's infrastructure, for example, generation capacity, transmission networks, and energy distribution. Here is the image showing the website of the World Bank database and Open Infra Map. These platforms are vital source of information for understanding the energy infrastructure of Mozambique. On this site, we can access detailed data about generation capacity, transmission network, and energy access, which are essential for building an accurate electrical model. The platform Open Infra Map provides detailed geospatial information about critical infrastructure, including electrical system, by using data from OpenStreetMap. This is the public and cooperative repository of geospatial information. It allows us to view and analyze key components of electrical grid, such as power line, power towers, substation, power plant, and generator. Another important resource we have for building the electrical model of Mozambique is the World Bank database. This platform provides valuable information on various aspects of the electrical system worldwide. It includes data on infrastructure, generation, capacity, transmission network, electricity access, and demand trend. For Mozambique, the World Bank database serves as a reliable source for detailed information about the country's electrical system. It allows us to analyze the system's development, its installed capacity, investment made, and the progress in the expanding energy infrastructure. To complete the electrical system model, we integrate data from Open InfraMap and the World Bank database into QGIS. QGIS is the software open source for GIS, for geospatial information. This integration enables us to accurately map and locate key components of Mozambique's electrical grid, such as a substation and power line, towers, etc. By combining data from Open InfraMap and the World Bank database, we can create a clear and precise map of Mozambique electrical networks. Here in this image showing the line and the substation of Mozambique, this data from Open InfraMap and showing in QGIS. This is the open source software. We see QGIS and the plugin. This is the Quick OSM. This is the plugin of QGIS, which allow us to bring data directly from Open InfraMap. In Open InfraMap, in the website, we can download the information about the system, the infrastructure of the country. But with this plugin, directly download information of the QGIS, okay? Using this plugin, we can efficiently import geospatial data such as the location of power line. For example, here, okay, this is the location and coordinate of the power line. Substation and another critical component of Mozambique electrical grid. Finally, in CIRSE for the project, the Emerge project, we can develop the website or the tools, the web tools for showing the new electrical model of Mozambique. This slide shows a web platform that combines map data from QGIS with information about the electrical system for power flow analyzed in GridCal. In the backend of these web platforms, run the GridCal with the power flow results, and in the front end, showing this information. For example, here in this substation, the additional capacity is the hosting capacity in this example. Finally, in conclusion, in summary, creating the electrical model for Mozambique in GridCal was not easy when putting together map and public data, but using helpful source like Open InfraMap, the World Bank, and Mozambique Electricity Master Plan, we made a clear and complete model of the country's energy system. By combining this data in QGIS and GridCal, we create useful tools that help with planning and making decisions for Mozambique's electrical system. This is all for my side, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Adrian, for that insightful presentation on the case study. I think we've all been enriched with the. Yes, please. Please go on.
I can't know
Hi,
hear.
Adrian.
Hi, I not hear you. I think you have problem with the sound.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Great. Thank you so much, Adrian. Right. So I would like to invite anybody who has questions to raise their hand. Does anybody have any questions on the last two presentations covering Pedro's presentation on challenges in collecting and processing economic data in sub-Saharan Africa? Mozambique, challenges in collecting data. Please raise your hand, or you can type in the chat. We'll be able to see your question. Okay. I can't see your hand, but in case I can't see your hand, you can unmute and speak up. All right. I think this brings us to the close of the webinar. I would like to appreciate all the presenters, Dr. Lopez, Dr. Ramos, Adrian, and Pedro, and everybody who has asked questions, for engaging with the presentations. I see there is a question in the chat. Ismail is asking, does Energy Emerge have any projects in Nigeria? I think that's for you, Adrian.
Yes. For the Emerge project, we will create and first we can recollect the information about the electrical system of Nigeria, and the next step we will create the electrical model in GridCal, and this is the next step for the Emerge project. In Emerge project, we have 3 demos: is Morocco, Mozambique, and Nigeria. The first develop was the Mozambique electrical system, and the next step is we will develop the electrical model of Nigeria and Morocco.
I hope that answers your question, Ismail. Any questions before we wrap up this webinar? All right. Thank you all. Thank you for joining the call and making the time to be here for the entire webinar. We do appreciate your participation. Please look out on our social media platforms in case you want to learn more about One Planet and what's currently happening, all the events that we are hosting. We have a fantastic calendar of events coming up in the next couple of weeks. we shall be hosting the Gender Perspective webinar within the Water, Energy and Food Nexus. We shall also be having the Nairobi Hackathon next week, being implemented in Nairobi, and a series of upcoming events. So please do watch out for these updates on our social media platforms, on LinkedIn, Twitter, which is X now, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Also, in case you want to learn how you can engage or learn about some of the tools that are being developed on the project, please check out the One Planet Knowledge Hub. The link was earlier shared in the chat. So you can please go there. There are resources that are being uploaded on a continuous basis that will help you learn about the One Planet project and also the One Planet toolkit that is being developed by the consortium. So thank you so much, and the challenges involved with the ongoing projects that both One Planet and Emerge that they are facing while developing these models for a just energy transition in Africa. So thank you so much once again, and have a good day. That's it for today.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, thanks.